August 25th, 2015 Board of Supervisors meeting to order. It's 9 a.m. I'll note we have a quorum. If everyone will please rise. We have Alan Wilder of St. Hills Community Church to do our invocation, and please remain standing for the pledge.
Let us pray. Dear Jesus, we recognize this morning that we've given an awesome privilege to serve our fellow citizens as leaders and as stewards of this great county and its resources. Lord, we would also confess that we are a dull and ordinary lot who have risen above our means and have been, Lord, we've been asked to take on tasks that are above us. And so, Lord, we would pray that you would sharpen us and that you would help us to be extraordinary in our reliance upon you and your word and your wisdom. Lord, we would pray that you would inspire this body. And in fact, Lord, we pray that you would inspire our county to greatness. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which we stand, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, I welcome everyone for attending this morning. I'd like to introduce Mr. Alan Lamberson, our new county administrator. I'd like for everyone to make him welcome. And we'll move right along into our agenda. Citizens time. We have one citizen signed up. Ms. Myers.
Yes, it's me again. Hello, gentlemen. I got the newspaper. Let's see, this is Wednesday, August 12th. And the first thing that I look at is this picture of this nice young gal, and she's a new teacher at Scott Elementary, which is absolutely wonderful. She's in a position of authority and so on. And then I did a double take. She's wearing flip-flops. If there is an emergency at that school and she has to evacuate our children, this is a safety issue. Plus, if she falls down the stairs and breaks her neck, the taxpayers of Wythe County are obligated. So I called Mr. Perry, and I would hope that you guys would call Mr. Perry, and he would, perhaps there's a dress code or whatever. I don't care if she wears a plastic bag, but this is a safety issue for our children and for county residents and taxpayers who would ultimately pay the price. So if you'd like to, I don't think you guys wear flip-flops in here.
No, we don't, but I say it. But
So,
I'll remind you, Linda, we do have an elected school board.
Right,
and they
exactly.
take care of that. I
I
mean, we
know they
can
do,
mention it,
but-
but I'd suggest you go
I did call Mr. Perry about it.
to the school board and talk to them about.
From a safety
dress
standpoint,
codes.
it's unfortunate. Thank you so much.
Okay, that's the only person that signed up for citizens' time. Does anyone else would like to speak? I'll give you opportunity. Hearing none, I'll close citizens' time. First item on the agenda is a public hearing. I'll read the notice. Notice of public hearing in compliance with section 15.2-2400 of the Code of Virginia and amendment thereto. The Wythe County Board of Supervisors will conduct a public hearing to consider the following amendments to the current county ordinances. Amendment number one, amendment number 2 to ordinance 2009-3 entitled Service District of Hidden Valley Area of Wythe County, Virginia. 2, amendment number 1 to ordinance 2009-2 entitled Service District for Whitstone Drive and Vineland Lane area of Wythe County, Virginia. The Board of Supervisors shall hear comments from citizens concerning the proposed amendments to these two ordinances. The public hearing shall be held on Tuesday, August 25th, 2015, beginning at 9:05 a.m. in the boardroom of the Wythe County Office Building, 340 South 6th Street, Wytheville, Virginia. A copy of each proposed amendment is on file in the County Administration's office located at 640 South 6th Street, Wytheville, Virginia, for public review and online at www.wythecode.org. I will now open the floor for comments on the public hearing. Hearing no one that wishes to speak, I'll close the public hearing. And Mr. Stockton, we want to vote on them now.
Yes, sir. Mr. Crocker will be paying, Crocker will be closing their books here in the not too distant future.
Okay.
This will lower the tax rate for those special districts. Did last year, I believe, was tax for both of these. As you remember, both these special transportation districts, they paid additional taxes, but like the rest of the citizens of the county paid to have the road paved and taken into the system. So we'd recommend that you adopt both of these ordinances.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the amendment number 2 and amendment number 1 to ordinance 2009-3 and 2009-2.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Do I have a second? Second. I open the floor for discussion.
Mr. Dalton, how many of these outstanding districts do we have after these two are gone?
After these two are gone, I believe they're the last ones we have.
Okay, thank you.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman?
Aye.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Motion passes 6 with 1 absent. Next item on the agenda is public hearing. Notice the comprehensive plan. The Wythe County Board of Supervisors is currently in the process of reviewing the proposed 2015 comprehensive plan as recommended by the Wythe County Planning Commission. The plan is designed to be a decision-making tool to help guide the growth and development of the county. The plan is general, long-range, and comprehensive. The plan is based upon the data gathered about land use, population, housing, community service, transportation, and the economy. The plan takes into consideration presence and ability of reportable future needs and seeks to promote the health, safety, moral order, convenience, productivity, and general welfare of the people of Wythe County in the effort to determine the views of local citizens and gain valuable information prior to the adopting of the Wythe County Planning Commission recommended plan. The Board of Supervisors will conduct a public hearing in compliance with Section 15.2-2204 of the Code of Virginia on Tuesday, August the 25th, 2015 at 9:10 a.m. in the boardroom of the Wythe County Administration Building, 340 South 6th Street, Wythe, Virginia. A copy of the proposed 2015 comprehensive plan is on file in the County Administration's office for review, or it can be viewed online at www.withco.org. Citizens with questions or concerns can contact any member of the Board of Supervisors at 276-223-4500. And I think we have Ms. Castle here to do a presentation on the comprehensive plan.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
I'm just going to briefly go over the timeframe of, what we did and where we are. The Planning Commission started this update back in February of 2014, and that was with the assistance of Mount Rogers. And after doing an online survey, in all 3 high schools, and that was with just the seniors in the high schools. We updated Mount Rogers and staff. We updated all of the data, and we conducted 3 input meetings in the county. And then in April and May of this year, the commission staff conducted 9 presentations to civic organizations, and of course, staff and the planning commission did that. Of course, you guys are all aware of those. And then the planning commission conducted their public hearing in April of this year. And in May, we made the recommendation to the board for adoption. There's a portion of the plan that's not complete in the transportation chapter, and Mount Rogers is continuing to work on that. They're preparing the development plan for the exits, and they will include verbiage in the transportation chapter regarding the corridors of statewide significant concept. So they're continuing to work on that. We've asked for a timeline for that. However, we haven't received that yet. That's where we are.
Okay. Any questions for Michelle?
You have a draft that Mr. Bear provided on your desk of the transportation corridors of statewide significance.
And this changes occur because of House Bill 2 was
House
passed.
Bill 2, the planning commission has been caught in an unpredictable situation. State has decided, after, I guess, the comp plan is finished, to implement House Bill 2, which dramatically changes how roads are added on the primary and U.S. highways for the 6-year plan. And this is the initial draft. I suggest everybody read it. We're still awaiting Mount Rogers' completion of the very important part that went along with our tourism plan and our mixed beverage corridor of how to develop each one of the exits along the interstate. And while we'd like to recommend this today, we'd ask that it be delayed until both of these can be inserted and later adopted.
Mr. Chairman, do you know if Mount Rogers folks are aware of the context of the meeting we attended in Richmond 2 weeks ago? Do they know about the modification of House Bill 2 and funding?
They run the Rural Technical Committee. They had a meeting this past week, which Mr. Bear attended, so they're well aware of the requirements of House Bill 2.
Okay.
Mr. Farley, if we table this we can have a work session and review these added things, are they enough that we have to have another public hearing?
We just have to look and see if it's a substantial change or not. What I saw this morning, I'm not sure it would be a substantial change. I just need to review it a little closer to see what is the change to whether we'd have to re-advertise or not.
Okay, we'll table the improvement of the comprehensive plan until we can have a work session and review. Thank you, Michelle.
Thanks.
Now, may I, do we still continue with public hearing, or do we?
We need close enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, you want to ask for, we can still have comments now, and then we can, then if we have to have another public hearing, we can
Right.
have another public hearing. And then if we don't, we still have the public hearing on file.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
There's actually 2 ways. You could adopt the comp plan as presented. You can continue this discussion, but there is a timeline with this comp plan because of House Bill 2. It has, before we submit our application on September 30th, it's got to be adopted so these references can be put in your application for the study for exit 41, the exit 81 ramps and auxiliary lanes, and the truck climbing lanes. So get the additional points that's required that are shown in House Bill 2. While you can table this, it really needs to come back to the board and be approved on the day meeting of September.
So that gives us time, if we have to have another public hearing, we can have it on the September the 22nd. And that'll still give us enough time to get it in.
To have this next public hearing, you have to have it advertised twice for the conference, 7 days prior to that. So you've got this week and next week to set that date.
Well, I guess my question is if we have any public comments today at the regular advertised public meeting, and then if the changes are not significant enough to require another public hearing, I mean, what I'm asking, do we continue with the public hearing today?
Continue. You may. I think if the law allows you to continue public hearings,
You can,
you can.
and then close it at the next meeting, or
Yes.
whatever you talk about again. You want to do that, or you can close it today and then vote on the ordinance later.
If it does require another public hearing. How long would it take you to,
At the end of the day today, possibly tomorrow.
okay. Well, then I'll open the floor up for any comments on the 2015 comprehensive plan.
Well, just this draft. One of the things we heard in Richmond, if we went with this draft, I think it would be, to use the Annie B, it'd be DOA, to ask for 11 things in this new funding. I think the board, either in session or not, needs to pick which ones are the most viable and ask that they be on the list.
Oh, Mr. Hale, what, the three that we've asked for, I think, are on this. The 11, this comp plan covers a period of 5 years. Over the next 5 years, unless you amend your comp plan, every year, you can ask for new projects to be put on. These 11, you prioritized, I think, 3 now. Out of the next 5 years, you can make application for any of these. So it's not saying we're applying for 11. This is the list that at some point we think is important that we could apply for.
Okay. So maybe I'm overlooking it. Where in this document do we highlight the 3 most critical ones?
Well, this is the document that would go in the comprehensive plan.
Yes.
All right, and so our application, though, is an entirely different,
Yeah.
a different thing.
I guess I'm asking a question. If we know those 3 most critical ones now, should they be highlighted in the comprehensive plan? Looks like to me this is a wish list of 11 things over the next 5 years.
What we learned with House Bill 2, that the comp plan has to include anything on corridors of statewide significance and general reference. When you do your application and the board passes a resolution of make an application, which you will at one of the next 2 meetings, you will identify which 3 at this time of juncture is the 3 most critical. And that resolution will tell you that. This
Okay.
is-
Didn't understand that.
Okay.
And then next year, we can take off this list and
I
apply for
apologize,
something else.
This is
And it's just,
our meetings with House Bill 2, as you know, every time we go, something different happens, and we're trying to react to what the state of Virginia is telling us we've got to do to make these applications. This draft may not be the final form, but
Well, realistically, as long as we alter it and study it, we don't have to come up with any money.
exactly.
Well, I know that in the comprehensive plan, the top 3 are prioritized. Are the rest of them prioritized? Okay. Okay.
okay, again, I'll open the floor up for any comments. I know no one has signed up to speak on either one of the public hearings, but I will open the floor up for any comments. And Mr. Dalton, I can leave this public hearing open until the next meeting,
Just
can I?
continue it. I think it would be appropriate if the board member made a motion to continue it to the next meeting.
I'll make a motion, we continue it.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second to continue the public hearing until the September the 11th board meeting, where we can look at the changes for the transportation portion of the comprehensive plan because of the passing of House Bill 2. I open the floor for any discussion on the motion. Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye. Motion passes 6 with 1 absent. Okay, we'll move right along into our agenda. We have the minutes of the previous meeting, August 11th, 2015. I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion that we approve the minutes as presented.
I have a second.
Second.
Any discussion, corrections, or changes that need to be made to the minutes? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman?
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye. Next item on agenda, payment of invoices. I'll entertain a motion to pay the invoices.
I'll make a motion, we pay the bills.
Have a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to pay the invoices, or any invoice any board member would like to discuss. Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman?
Aye.
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 Aye. The chair votes aye. Motion passes. Unfinished business. Mr. Dalton, do we have any unfinished business?
No, sir.
Okay, we have anything under other? Okay, moving on along to reports. Have the treasurer, Sam Crockett. Morning, Sam.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
On our consolidated account report, currently we're at $49,476,409. And our general fund is at $27,981,000. As far as revenue statement goes, we don't really have anything to talk about right now. Faye and I discussed yesterday getting our tax tickets out. She's gonna get the information over next week. We gotta get David down to do some transferring and get stuff over to us. And then we'll be ready to get our tax tickets out. We've already paid for the postage and all that stuff. But I do have a problem we need to go over. It has to do with our Rita, Virginia. Would you pass them out, please? That top sheet that's coming around is what we get when we get money from the state through our Ready Virginia Access Program. And the other day I got this sheet. I got that sheet, and this was one of the two big ones we get each month. It should have been for schools. If you look at the first item under our state sales tax, we got hit with a $235,000 debt set-off claim from the Tobacco Commission. I think y'all are probably aware of that happening. But first, I'd heard about it when I got this report. So I wrote Ready Virginia and asked them to explain why they withheld our $235,000. And I didn't hear anything back from them, but I did get a call from Mr. Stevenson from the Tobacco Commission. And he explained it that he had tried to talk to Salel about it, and since he didn't get return phone calls, that he did a debt set-off against our county for that money. So they took that money out. So it put me in a quandary as to what to do for the town of Wythe and town of Roaring Creek, and both of them are sitting here with us today. The town of Wythe should have gotten like $49,505, but we gave them their percentage based on what we received. And I talked to the TAV treasurer's attorney about it, and he said all you can do really is give them their percentage based on what I received, which was $146,000. So for the town of Wythe, I gave them $18,979, and that made them short $30,526 of what they should have gotten. And same for Rory Treat. She should have gotten $10,442, and we sent her $4,003, which made her $6,439 short. In talking with Kevin, I mean, he said, well, you did what you needed to do. You sent what was received. So it's up to the board to decide if they wanted to pay the towns their part of that tax that they should have received anyway. They would have received it had we not had that debt set off. The other thing Kevin commented about, he didn't know what authority the Tobacco Commission had to do a debt set-off claim. He's trying to look into that for me now to see about that. But, you know, I wasn't aware of anything going on with Evan Tran. This all refers to that Evan Tran Corporation. But my question, I guess, is why the taxpayer's on the hook for $235,000 for a failed company. I mean, did the county secure that loan for them? I thought it was a grant.
Well, we're in process of collecting money from Evatran, and I'll let Mr. Dalton explain further all the technical.
Well, Sam, we discussed at the last board meeting. But we do have a performance agreement, personal guarantees, and the county attorney's been directed to collect that money. There's been a demand made for 30 days. We expected. How the Tobacco Commission did that, actually, they sent us the letter. They collected the money with the debt set off, is how they did it.
Yeah, that's when I heard about it.
And, but when they sent us the letter, they did it before the letter was sent. The letter actually said that we had 30 days from the date of the letter and tested. And that they immediately went off and did that. We've been asking to Mr. Manley how that happened, that they did it.
I've spoken with Ned since we talked. And
David, you want to come on up?
Yeah, Mr. Stevenson, the Tobacco Commissioner, and I talked. The money is held right now. It hasn't been taken from the receipts. It's been held in escrow until the 30 days is up, at which point, if we've satisfied the debt, they don't take any money from anybody. The escrow goes back, and it will be flowed back to the county. But if the money is not collected at the end of the 30 days, they will hold that $235, and the county will just then have to be made whole from Evatran.
Anybody have any questions for David?
Well, what about the towns? Do we need to go ahead and give them their money and then get it back later if it's going to be done like that? You know, each of the towns is expecting their share of the money.
Joe?
The way I understand the JIDA, the county and the towns are partners, and they are. This arm's length transaction is between JIDA and the barter, and that right, Mr. Dalton? The county is on.
It's a three-party agreement.
And part of being a party in business is they take their lumps just like the county does. If they get their money back, they'll get it when this mess clears up. And that to me is just a straightforward answer. Sam.
Okay, well, that's what I was looking for, an answer to what we're going to do about it.
Well,
But I didn't know whether to write it. I mean, if that's the board decision.
Well, it's not the board's, but it's what I think.
But we don't perceive losing that money.
No.
I mean, there's a personal guarantee, and, I mean, we'll get the money back. It may take the 30 days or whatever, but the money will come in.
But the county didn't know the Tobacco Commission was going to do this. So we hadn't even received the letter.
It was a shock.
We hadn't even received a letter from them saying they was going to do this before we found out they were doing it.
Sam, they don't even need a mask.
Do what?
They don't even need a mask to run.
But I
Obviously,
mean,
no, there's
I
a
mean,
key.
we should have this, something settled within the next 30 days, so I think we can wait, you know, as far as the towns go. I mean, they're partners with us in this economic development and the EVA trend thing, and we're just got to go through the process to get our money.
Okay.
There's Fairfax Towns in more than that, because there's another, 20,000, Michael, as part of the community administration.
They just want to see what, about their sales tax. But- All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank
You
you,
may ask
Sam.
any questions.
Thank you. Else got any questions? Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
Faye, I know your name went on. You have anything you'd like to bring forward the board? Okay. Sheriff?
Hey, speak up about the vehicle you're threatening me with. Come on up here a minute. Not gonna pick up any more trash till we get him a vehicle. Let's deal with that.
Well, our last vehicle that we had, we towed it more than we drove it. So we need another vehicle. The state there's a state contract with used vehicles from a place in Richmond that usually has a lot of 8 and 10 passenger vans. And they come, you just tell them what mileage you want on it, and that's what they'll send you. And the price will be based on the mileage. 8 passenger van with about 25,000 miles on it was going about $19,000 last I looked. And we've really passed all our good trash picking up weather. You know, it won't be long before we don't have that opportunity. So that's a good program for the community. We picked up tons of trash, and things were looking good, and we haven't been able to do that. So I hope the board decides to get us another vehicle and let us resume that program. The guy that we had hired to do that program, and we had made arrangements to start doing it 3 days a week, and he took that job thinking that that was going to be his job, but he ended up working in the court more than he did picking up trash. So he has actually resigned and moved on. So we're going to have to hire some new people if we're going to get the program kicked back up.
The sheriff also informed me that he's doing a trash awareness or some education as part of the DARE program. And I want to applaud him on making that happen. Hopefully it's successful, and we'll continue it and try to educate the young about trash.
That's what we need to do. We need to start with the young kids, and as they grow up and we continue to pick up trash and they continue to learn not to throw trash, you know, we could really have an effect on the scenery of our county.
Thank you, Keith.
You want to make it into a motion?
I sure do, that we move forward rapidly to investigate and purchase a van and get that program up and running again.
I have a second.
I'll second that, and believe they pick up more trash from our area than they do anyway.
I have a full discussion.
Would we refer that to building and grounds or to budget or yeah, when you say quickly investigate, what are you talking about there, Joe?
Move forward quickly with getting the van.
Purchase
We've been
the van.
talking about this for 6 months or 8
Well-
months.
I understand that, but I guess what I'm asking is what, are you talking about, committee action? Are you talking about full board action or committee action and then board action? That's what I'm,
I think Gary would know the facts. I think it's time for full board action. That's part of being quick and nimble. Committee would mean another month, maybe 2. We got some money here. Danny used to always tell me, find the money, we'll do it. The sale here of these scrap vehicles or junk vehicles will almost buy a van. Every time I find money, you tell me we can't use it, but why can't we use this?
Well, Keith bought these vehicles, is he giving us that much?
Mr. Chairman, I would prefer that does not come out of the that it come out of the general fund instead.
You learned all that from Doug King, didn't you?
I learned that all along. But we actually use that money to replace the full bid. And if I spend that on van, then I'm not gonna have the patrol car next time.
Let me ask another question.
Your floor's open for discussion.
Do we still have all that other junk in the yard down there, like fire trucks that's been there for a year and a half, or have they gone somewhere?
Martha's shaking her head, yes.
They're still there.
Why?
I'm working on it.
Thank you, Martha.
She can't find nobody that wants a junk fire truck.
Well, we have a motion on the floor to go ahead and purchase a van for trash pickup, and we have a second, and I will bring it to the floor for a vote. Any more discussion?
We'll have to do an amend and appropriate. Fresh, we don't know the amount at this point, right? So
Well, that can come to the budget committee.
we'll go through the budget committee,
Yeah.
which is still in line with your motion, Mr. Hale.
Okay, thank you.
We're moving forward.
Okay.
Okay, all
Go
right.
ahead, Jared.
I'm just confused as exactly what we're voting on.
To purchase a vehicle so we can start the trash program again.
Okay, all right, I didn't think that was the motion. I thought the motion was to, move ahead. So moving ahead means buying the vehicle.
The only thing that's going to the personnel committee is,
The budget
budget committee is the price of it to
Right.
to bring to the board to amend and appropriate the money to purchase it.
We'll have to get a quote and do the amendment first.
Okay, is everybody straight on what we're doing?
I hate to complicate you. But Mr. Dunnigan said that we could purchase one at 19 something. I would suggest you go ahead and put $20,000 in. If you're just gonna bounce it around and bring it back, we can't issue a purchase order without money.
Okay.
Well, that was,
I agree with
that was my point.
Like we was kind of saying, here's a blank check, go buy a van.
Yeah, that was why I was asking about going to a committee.
Will you amend your motion to move forward and amend and appropriate $20,000?
$20,000, yeah, yes,
Up
sir.
to 20,000.
Now we're
Up
moving.
to $20,000.
Okay, I understand that
Do I have a
better.
second for that?
I second that indeed.
Okay, any more discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
That's, you can get that on state contract, so it wouldn't require a quote. You can do the purchase on state contract.
Okay. Hearing none, Dr. Housen?
And this is up to $20,000.
Yes.
Yeah. Aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye. Okay, we've got that settled.
That was easy.
Okay, moving on to the agenda, Fire and Rescue Committee report.
Fire and Rescue Committee met on August 17th, 2015, and made the following recommendations. And I know that we take them one at a time, but I'm going to read them both, and then we'll go back because I'll explain briefly. One is to amend and appropriate $32,303 to pay off the rural development loan for the Ivanhoe Fire Department Engine 4. And that's to be paid from Fund Code 096 Fire Department Equipment. And also to amend and appropriate $62,997 to pay off the rural development loan for the Barron Springs Fire Department tanker number 6, and that's to be paid from Fund Code 096, the Fire Department Equipment. The reason I read them both is that we now have possession of those. All the titles have been put in the name of the county, and our agreement was that we would take over the payments. But rather than make the payments, there was this fire department equipment fund that has enough money just to pay off those two pieces of equipment, which will save us thousands of dollars in interest. So we can do it without affecting general fund. We can get them paid for and save us thousands of dollars on down the road. So I would bring back item number 1 to amend and appropriate to $32,303 to pay off the rural development loan for the Ivanhoe Fire Department.
Okay, come from committee, it doesn't need a second. I open the floor for discussions. Any questions? Hear none, I'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
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 Mr. Chair votes aye. Motion passes.
And the second one is to amend and appropriate $62,997 to pay off the rural development loan for the Barron Springs Fire Department tanker number 6.
Okay, Okay, it does come from committee, it doesn't need a second. Item before it for discussion. Hearing none, do a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman?
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye.
And,
Anything else?
and there were two pieces of just information. There's no action required. One, we're waiting the final cost of the crash truck and equipment from Blacksburg that Speedwell Fire Department would like to purchase. And we also reviewed a request for an ambulance from Wed Mines Rescue Squad.
Okay.
While we're on fire.
Any question?
While we're on fire and rescue, there's two things that have happened, and I'd hope we'd hear from Jason about that, but they've also started the effort that I've been asking for a long time, of forming a swiftwater rescue team. And they've had their first drill, 2 fire departments, maybe 3, and lead mines are working as a team to develop this since they have the Zodiac and the watercraft. But it is seemed to get started working together. I think that's good news for the fire and rescue.
Any other comments or questions or anything else you'd like to bring up fire and rescue? Hearing none, we'll move right along with the water committee report.
Okay, the Water Committee met on August 18th, 2015, and makes the following recommendation. To remove $286,855.06 from the Water Department books and consider the account 100879-00 closed. This is it was a Flying J bankruptcy account, and if I remember correctly, that account is actually paid off. It was actually transferred over to another account, and we just forgot to zero it out.
Okay, you hear the recommendation from the water committee. It doesn't need a second. You've heard the explanation. I'll support for any questions. Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman?
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye. Anything else from the water committee?
I believe that was it.
County administrator report, Mr. Dalton.
Budget.
Oh, budget, I'm sorry.
Budget Committee met on August 21st. We've got 6 items here for recommendation. The first is to accept the Virginia Department of Emergency Management 2015 Emergency Management Performance Grant. It's in the amount of $13,017 with $13,017 in local matching funds. That is in the budget.
Okay, come from it, doesn't need a second. I'll open the floor for discussion. Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
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 And chair votes aye. Next
Sec-
item.
Second item is to accept the Virginia Department of Criminal Justice Service Victim Witness Program Grant in the amount of $46,418.
Okay, come from committee, it doesn't need a second. Any discussion? Do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye.
Next item is, next 2 items involve the Radio Drive tank improvements. The first is to accept the Radio Drive tank improvements Division 1 change order number 1 in the amount of $1,900.
Okay, come from committee, it doesn't need a second. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman, our
Yes.
apologies to the water committee. The reason it didn't come, the water committee met, and this has to be finalized by September 1st. And we just ran it through the budget.
That's fine.
Any other questions? Hearing none, do a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman?
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye.
Next item is to accept the Radio Drive tank improvements Division 2 change order number 1 in the amount of $750.
Any questions? Open the floor for any comments. Come from committee, it doesn't need a second.
Is that automatic bleed? Is that the second one? What are we getting for $700?
Second one is the telemetry on the emergency generator pump station on Route 11.
So it will help flush that line, charge that line?
That's change order one, yes.
Okay.
In the overall project, but this particular change order is to get the telemetry from the throw switch back to the sewer plant that we know when the generator runs.
But it'll increase water quality.
Yes, whole project.
That's it.
Okay, coming from it, doesn't need a second. Any more questions? Do a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman?
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye. Next item.
Next item is to provide county employees who have in excess of 30 years of service an opportunity to retire early and work the necessary calculated hours to pay for their health insurance. I think we do have a couple people interested and several that are eligible.
Okay, coming from committee, doesn't need a second. Item before it for discussion.
Mr. Chairman, you have on your desk a draft of the agreement that those individuals will sign. That's the same, almost exactly the same agreement we used a few years ago.
That was my question. A few years ago, when we did this, we had an idea how many people were involved. You got an idea?
Two.
Oh, okay, so we're not talking a host.
Both of them are the sheriff's department. If you want me to name names, I can.
No, I just wanted a number.
We had an initial list of about 6 people that could potentially retire. What we've done is limited to 30 continuous years of service. The one employee in the treasurer's office, I've talked to her numerous times, she's not interested. So 2 people is all this qualifies. Or appears to willing to accept the service.
And,
Not qualified.
and them though is the only 2 people was talking to me about it at this
And-
moment.
Basically, this is really zero cost to us because they come back and work those days. So it's, value that we have for, for that money. So it's a,
And if you adopt this today, it's a 60 to 90 day period for them to sign the VRS and get it started. The one employee, it only affects him for a couple of months, the other one about 9 months.
because it cuts off at age 65,
Yes.
Medicare.
Okay. Any more discussion? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny?
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye.
Then the last item from the Budget Committee is to approve the proposed Wythe County salaries effective September 1st, 2015. Those are in your packet, and upon approval can be posted on the website.
Any questions coming from committee? It doesn't need a second. Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman?
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye.
That's all from the Budget Committee.
All from the budget. Now I can go to the county administrator's report. Mr. Dalton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item is the Parency Advocacy Advisory Council, Southwest Virginia. They're asking, they have a meeting this Saturday, they're also asking support, in my opinion, condense it, but not close the Southwest Virginia training center.
And they also, are they asking us, I see this one sentence, also write to governor as an individual and as a political group?
Yes.
So they're asking for a letter.
Yes.
I would recommend that, or make a motion that we do write a letter asking the governor to keep the Southwest Virginia Training Center open. If it closes, in all honesty, it's going to put, well, I'll make that motion, and then, yeah.
I'll second it.
If discussion is, appropriate now, if if it's closed, it's going to put a tremendous burden on, on families and on individuals.
And it's gonna cost a lot of jobs in Carroll.
It will cost a lot of jobs, and this is serving, a segment of the population that, that needs services. So I would strongly suggest that we write the governor and ask him to, to keep it open.
A part of that, I heard you say jobs in Carroll, but we've got over 20 people
Well,
in
what?
counties that drive over there.
Yeah, my neighbor.
We need to save as many things as we can in this part of the state.
No, I take it back. He works at IDC.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second to write to the governor supporting, not closing the training center. I'll do a roll call vote. Dr. Housen?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Chair votes aye. Next item.
Next item is the adopted school board meeting dates for fiscal year 16. The next meeting of the school board is Thursday, September the 10th at 7 o'clock. All those meetings this year are going to be held at the school board office in lieu of around the county. Several weeks ago, y'all asked and passed a resolution concerning the Cripple Creek, the bridge over Cripple Creek on Silent Road. This is a response from the governor's office. It appears that we can report, and we've sent a copy of this letter to people on Silent Hope Road that signed the petition. We've sent them a copy of this letter, and appears they're in the preliminary design phases, which y'all can expect to be on your 6-year plan next time it comes around to replace this bridge.
What?
Next letter, item is a letter from community colleges thanking you for appointing Jerry Hurt to the board.
Mr. Dalton, hold on one second. Do you have?
Well, I was just going to ask, why would this go on a 6-year plan instead of from maintenance funds?
The cost of it, Gary, exceeds anything. A new bridge is going to cost you $1 million or better.
So they want it to come out of county. Basically, money is going to be allocated to the county rather than, well, that's very nice of them, yeah.
There is, let's go back to House Bill 2. We were informed, I guess, in Richmond, House Bill 2 is going to morph into or change in the next biennium. They're going to take roads off the table and put only bridges, large construction. So instead of adding a road like we talked about a while ago, this year's 6-year plan for make application, the next grouping will be bridges only and large infrastructure projects, paving, that type of thing.
Because this was a low water bridge and it cannot be built
Yeah.
back as a low water
There's
bridge.
going to be a lot of property purchased that raised above the 100-year floodplain. But it's different area. I would have thought that they would have went after some kind of FEMA loan.
But they're trying to turn it back on us.
Appears.
Well, the state is good at that, you know. Okay, that was my question, Mr. Chairman.
Well, I don't know, Gene, that in your district,
Yes.
it is after that flood, is it truly unrepairable?
There's nothing left of the bridge, Joe.
Well, you can't repair it then.
I mean, there's a couple of the pillars were out in the middle of the creek, but that was,
Well, there's a reason for that question, you know.
Yeah.
If you could validate that that it was a repair and get Mr. Russell to agree with it, that could change how it could be funded.
Right.
The problem with that, Joe, is that they imaged it some, but after the water went down, they dug the rest of it out.
I was gonna say, they went back and took it all out
They
now.
backed up over it then, huh? Get back sure.
Okay.
You know, as far as a flood caused damage, any way we could get any money from FEMA, the
I would have thought that the state would access that and isolate the flood instances. They could make application. We can talk to the district or the state about that. But currently, it appears their direction, since you passed a resolution, they're going to penalize you.
make us pay for it.
We could also apply to the Russians for aid to build a bridge. That'd get a lot of attention.
Next item would typically come through the water committee, but it's notice of
you-
intent to terminate.
Did you finish the college letter?
I did.
Did you? Okay, sorry.
Trying to talk fast. We sent a notice of intent. That doesn't terminate the clause. There's some legal maneuvering that has to go on now. They have a period of time to respond to the letter. As far as I know, they have not responded. It's our intention to proceed with the bond company and have the bond company finish this project.
And one of the real negatives of this is that it delays the water line going to Jackson School.
I haven't got any calls about that yet,
What brought this about, Bill? Were they just too low to start with, or bad management, or?
All the above. They got into trouble early with their materials. We started off with material problems that were made known to us by Ferguson, the supplier, in May. We had a meeting in July. We got that, thought we had squared away between the supplier and the contractor. The contractor paid up his invoices that were outstanding, but failed to come up with a cash in hand requirement by the supplier to obtain the remainder of the materials. And so you can't get materials, you can't complete the job. And then there's other things going on at the company that we're not aware of. We got a subcontractor that, for whatever reason, hasn't showed up, probably because he knew we get paid. The job's at 54% and making no progress, and that was the clause in the contract that we invoked to send out the notice of intent. We also notified the bonding company, who I heard from yesterday, who's going to try to arrange a meeting with us and the county attorney tomorrow to see if there's a way forward. And Mr. Dalton said at that point, we'll have a decision about terminating and continuing the bonding. So as of now, we may be still working with Branson via the bonding company, or it may just be us and the bonding company. We won't know that for a couple of days.
What's the estimated time delay that this is going?
Well, their time is completely expired on the project. They've used it all up. It's going to take them 60 days to remobilize and get everything back in from the day the bonding company. Speculation, my speculation is the bonding company will come in and manage Branson Construction and get them to finish the project.
Does this affect the Castleton Road line?
No, sir.
Is this 54% lineage or valvage or?
Think of it as a tinker toy. The lines are in, the sticks, and then we got to hook up the little circles.
Okay,
That's really what's left.
that's what I was asking.
Most of the pipe is in, so 1, 4, and old 52 and US 52. The rest of it has to do with PRV vaults, meter vaults, and such as that, and a few service connections that we have.
Last question for me, we're still in good shape on retainage and drawdown?
We haven't overpaid.
That was a polite way of asking that, Bill.
Okay, Mr. Dalton. Next item.
If I may, under other, I have before you a request from Southwest Virginia Emergency Medical Service. They send a letter of support. They even drafted it. All we have to do is fill in the blanks. I ask for the board to make a motion to support the Southwest EMS.
I would make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I'll open the floor for any discussion or questions. Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye. The chair votes aye.
And, Mr. Chairman, except we have some scheduled next 3 days orientation with the county administrator, that each one of you have dates that are assigned to show up, to participate on the test. If you can't show up, find a friend on the board to take your place. If you can't find a friend on the board, find an enemy to take your place.
There's no enemies, we're all friends.
In fact, increase my report, Mr. Chairman.
Y'all get along. Okay, moving right along. Does anybody have any questions on the schedule? The next 3 days? Okay, hearing none, we'll move right on to supervisor reports. District 1, Black Lick, Dr. Hausman.
Only thing, I just will report that I had a call again from Jack Dutton, who lives on Dutton Hollow Road, about the condition of the roads and the drainage and that sort of thing. It's washing out driveways and because the drains are not open, and so I will, he's asked me to drive out that way, and I'll do that probably this afternoon. I'll send Mr. Russell an email, although I know that the county doesn't maintain roads or do anything like that. We can, I guess, use our title supervisor to at least send requests and see if they will respond to it. So that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, District 2, West Whipple, Mr.
I
Hall.
don't have anything at this time.
East Whipple is absent. District 4, Fort Chisholm, Mr. Hale.
Yeah, I'm happy to tell you that work has started on Archer Road, and the citizenry is amazed and happy. I would ask Mr. Dalton to see if he can contact either Andy or Jeff. There's a safety issue. If we don't have striping, and the sheriff will tell you this. Sheriff, lack of striping on Dana Road is a safety hazard. They have the 18 feet of width required for striping, but there's none there. As you're aware, they've repaved part of Olive Hill Locust Hill Road. Now it has the width for striping. There's no striping. They turned down my request after the magnificent paving job on Ramsey Mountain. It wasn't on anybody's schedule. They can't afford to put a stripe on it because there's not enough traffic count. Well, if they can't afford to paint, how'd they come up with 1,000 tons of paint mix to make it that wide? These are safety issues. They're not maintenance issues, but on foggy mornings with that new black pavement or people who go to work before work time, that stripe really helps. And hopefully the sheriff would back that. That's it. And trash pickup. We get a new vehicle, I hope to see the program back because the tonnage shows the value of that, and since the state mowed the right of ways, all the trash is showing up again, and rightfully we need to be picking it up.
Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, District 5, lead mines.
I did have some concerns over road issues, but I give them all to Mr. Baker. He's taking care of
Okay. District 6 people?
I have one thing, I didn't know if it's something the county does, or if it's something VDOT would do, or if it's something nobody does. There's a church on, can't think of the road name now. Slate Springs Branch Road. It's right on a little hump, and they've got driveways on both sides. Is there any, who would put up a hidden driveway or watch for vehicle signs, or? Okay. You want to contact them about that, or do you want me to? I would appreciate that. Other than that, they paved some yesterday on the 619 where they're going to tear up and redo, so they put some good pavement down yesterday on it, so they can tear it up to start over.
Okay.
It's still rough as a cob, but it's got new pavement on it.
Okay. Is that all, Mr. Horny?
That's it.
Okay, at large, I have nothing to report at this time. Moving on into new business, we have the consent calendar for August 25th, 2015.
I move we accept the consent calendar.
I have a second.
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar. Have any questions? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Dr. Hausman?
Aye.
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 And the chair votes aye. Okay, next item is the MRCBS performance contract. Mr. Dalton?
This is the annual contract that required the state. It spells out exactly all the services they're going to provide to and for Wythe County, and also the adopted budget. So I would recommend if you've read that massive document that we approved and authorized the signature of the document.
To have a motion to accept the performance contract.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion?
I will say that if there's anything that's any more convoluted and complicated than the county, it's Mount Rogers.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly not through their fault, but, through, federal guidelines and state guidelines. And so I just, would like to say bless their hearts.
I think it's the time I need to ask a question. Steve is on the Workforce Development Board now, and since he's not here, Lennon Counts come to my office hours yesterday afternoon, and one of his graduation papers with a group of other students at Madison was on this very subject of workforce development. I'd like to be able to get a sit-down meeting with Dr. Perry and the president of college. I understand there's some recent legislation that just passed that will allow a greater involvement between local education authority and the community college to set up meaningful workforce development programs. This is a good paper. I even learned some new language that I wasn't aware of about different efforts that's going on. And I think we all agree that workforce development is the next step in industrial and commercial development. So,
Speaking for Mount Rogers, and I get, with the IDC, I tell you, they're doing some really innovative things over there. For instance, yesterday we had a meeting, and the IDC is contracted to make cooling vests, and he had a sample there. They're making it for a company for people who work. I'm assuming, he said like welders, but I would assume, people that work at extruding machines and things like that they can hook to compressed air, and it keeps them cool. So as far as workforce development, especially, with that, segment of the population, they're doing some amazing things at the IDC. I know that's not exactly what you were talking about, but if we talk about workforce development and putting people to work, that's a great program that Mount Rogers has.
Yeah, I was talking more about what we've generally been not able to get our arms around, but that's training at the local level in 2-year programs or even 1-year certificate programs that will make people ready for different industries that we may have hope. And I think, David, you know a lot about this. It's the biggest thing that we've got missing in our piece of pie right now. And I think one of the things Mr. Dalton may know the answer. Did the school division come up with emergency service classes or not?
They did not.
Did not.
Dr. Brandon reported there.
There just was not enough interest. Guidance counselors, I think, tried.
Well, that must have been while I was out. Did anybody ask for the money back? We put money in that program, and if they didn't do it, we ought to get that money back.
We have not asked for any money back.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'll, again, make that motion to accept Mount Rogers.
Okay. I have a motion and a second to accept the Mount Rogers performance contract. We've been through discussion. Go roll call vote, Mr. Horny. Aye.
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 And the chair votes aye. Next item on the agenda, you have in front of you they've auctioned off the surplus vehicles in the amount of $13,884.72. We need to accept these bids.
Yes, sir. Declare that property surplus.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to accept it
I make a motion, we accept the bids.
and declare surplus property. Have a second. Any more discussion?
I have a question.
Yes.
I mean, there's 6 vehicles. All those aren't sheriff's cars, were they?
Only 5.
Okay. 5. What y'all use a Ranger or an S10 for?
The Ranger was from the water department.
The Ranger was the old engineer truck.
Engineering truck.
Yeah.
S10 was a water truck. And the other Ranger was above the ground. There's 3 sheriff's departments.
So does all this money go back into buying the sheriff's cars or just the sheriff's cars?
Just the sheriff.
Okay. That's what I thought, but I wasn't sure.
Any more questions?
He will write us a letter shortly.
Requesting the money?
Being appropriate as always.
Any more questions or comments? Do a roll call vote, Dr. Housing?
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye. Next item on the agenda, you have a letter in your packet from the Ivanhoe Civic League. Mr. McRoberts, you want to, it's in your district.
I did receive a call from Miss Waller. I thought she was gonna be here to explain that today. I don't see her. Is anyone help? I think financing there broke. As well as a lot of them. She asked about some help. If Gary asked some things, I think she wanted to have a gospel singing. It's really about all I know about.
I called her and told her that the budget committee had deferred back to the full board meeting. They budget committee that will take it on as a the budget committee as a recommendation. What she explained to me is they have insurance needs, building needs, repair. As you know, when we separated property from Carolyn with the IDA a few years ago, they were given so many acres on the river.
10, I think, 10 acres. Fire department's got 11.
And they're having a problem maintaining the insurance and the maintenance of that facility.
She couldn't pay, I know she couldn't pay the light bill.
Well, so we will refer this to the budget committee?
No, it
Or
come
not?
through the budget committee, which there
We only
wasn't
had
two
two.
of us present, so
Oh,
we
oh.
decided just let the full board hear.
I see.
I would think this is in response to the donation made to the Rural Retreat Fair Association. I felt like the whole board probably would, since the vote was.
Well, if that's it, I mean, then the thing that I would request is sort of the same information we received from the, from Rural Retreat Fair Association. I know during our budget hearings, Mr. Brian Vault came down and talked about it and made a request, and then we had Mr. Jordan Hall, who came as the new president and spoke. Of course, they've reorganized and are trying to make a go of it. And of course, they've given us some actual numbers as far as their finances and what the needs actually are, and really what they're doing at the Fair Association fits in, I think, a little bit at least with the philosophy or the mission of this expo center, except on a micro level where it's activities mainly on a weekend basis and that sort of thing. That being said, if the Ivanhoe Civic League fits into all that, I don't have any.
I feel sure that she'll be glad to come up here and explain it. I thought she'd be here today.
Mr. Dalton, what did we request from the Wythe Fire Association? What kind of documents did we request before?
We requested they provide the documentation for 501(c)(3),
Mhm.
and their budgetary information,
Mhm.
and actually what they wanted to spend the dollars.
Yeah.
Coy, I guess asking you the question, is there a formal working group called Ivanhoe Civic League? Okay, I mean, they have a board and members and things like that. And I could really support this if they've got sort of what we would normally call a business plan. Where are they not making money? What can we help them do to come viable? Because there's a lot goes on over there. There's probably more goes on in that park over there than anywhere else in the county.
Yeah, but what goes on over there is not her, it's mostly fire department business.
Fire department lease or subleases.
Fire department uses it for everything.
Okay.
Why are they not supporting, what are they paying her? I mean,
Fire department pays the light bill on what they use. And basically nothing else.
Well, does that make sense to you that if they want county help, we need some kind of structure of how this money's gonna help them?
I just asked her to come up here and explain to you what's going on.
Okay.
She does have a lot of good programs down. I know for a fact she calls me at Christmas time down over the food truck. And it's full.
and also,
She puts it in boxes and gives it out to kids, families that need it, lots of things. But Artie is right. This probably come about when you give the money to the Fire Association, and this probably won't be the end of this. We're probably gonna have every organization that there is in the county, 501(c)(k), if you want 10 barrels, do.
Well, I still think, in my opinion, we've taken on a case-by-case basis. That's all we can do with the
And-
requests that we receive at the first of the year from all of these nonprofit organizations that request money each year from the budget.
And the other thing I would say about the Retreat Fair Association, in my motion, it was a one-time thing. It was not a reoccurring, allotment.
Just ask that she be here the next meeting.
And she could give us, I would request that she give us the numbers and things like that, same thing that, Retreat did
We'll retreat.
at the fair.
She can do it.
Okay.
Okay. So, Mr. Dalton, will you write her a letter and requesting the same thing we requested from the Fire Association, and we'll put it on the next board package?
I'll do so.
Okay, next item is the fiscal year 16 revenue sharing program. Mr. Dalton.
It's that time of year again, if there's any roads, board things, we can make recommendations and make application on an annual basis. The VDOT revenue sharing plan. I know I've talked to a couple of you guys that we're pretty close to closing on the property at exit 77. It doesn't commit you to doing the project, but my suggestion to some of you guys was to make application for Ready Mix Road, to get that included in the revenue sharing program if there's any potential. It has to be done within a 5-year period. And you have to commit half of the money.
And
As you know, and I'm gonna get to this, there's 3 roads we currently have funded that I'm gonna put the county attorney on the spot here in just a second. That we have to release, it's the 3rd year or 4th year. VDOT asked me yesterday, are we ready to release that money? We had Bearwalla, county attorney, you searched the deeds on that right of way yet?
I've searched, I haven't completed to give you that information, so I should be able to give you that later this week.
Okay. Then Connors Valley, Joe, I talked to you, you were gonna go talk to the people in Connors Valley.
Yeah, I pretty much concur Connors Valley is dead. They're not gonna come up with their part of the money.
And Bertha Farms Road, we talked to the lady over there that initiated it, she said remove it, that she can't come up with it. So Bearwall is the only one.
And Bearwalla, it really depends on the county attorney. I know it's in the deeds, but the legal side, does it mean what I think it means, or does it mean what the other people think it means? And that's going to be the thing. If there's not a valid right-of-way there, let's drop the thing and move on. If there is a valid right-of-way there, then we need to kick in gear, do whatever, tell VDOT this project's still alive.
Well, what VDOT told me yesterday, Joe, is they need a letter saying that that's a county-owned right-of-way, and we will guarantee the right-of-way, and they'll proceed. If we can't write the letter saying it's a guaranteed right-of-way, or we'll guarantee the right-of-way, if somebody sues us, then we'll take it to court and take that right-of-way. They will not proceed unless we write that letter.
Well, I've understood that all along, and I agree with it, but it still comes back to Scott giving us opinion whether that's right away or not. It's been in the last 4 deed transfers of that one piece of property. I'm not going to practice law. I'm just telling you, it's been in the deeds for a long time. What does that mean? If we can't trust the deed, we can't trust anything.
Is Bearwalla, I know it's on the eastern end of the county,
It's
but
in that foreign country, isn't it?
yeah, it is, yeah. But I do have a passport. Is that where the people came in and there were some of them objected?
That is.
Okay.
There's 68 property holders in that quandary. that they can't get connected to a state road. So therefore, the division, subdivision, using a broad sense of that word, they can't become part of the rest of the public road system.
Okay.
But a special tax district has to be put in place to get that road built.
Yeah, unless we,
Do we have the people, enough people signed on board to make that happen?
we had a meeting at the Ruleton Building at Max Meadows. They were told a little bit of this, told this is what you got to do. But then the question, why do that if we don't have a right-of-way? Because if they don't have a right-of-way, no amount of money is worth fighting with those three landowners. You remember about 2 months ago, they showed up here opposed to it. Those are the three that, in my opinion, their property values would increase drastically, but they don't want it. Unfortunately, there was nobody here representing the other 68 property holders when those three were here not wanting it. So, as Myers, there's one you can get involved on, pick either side, I'd be in favor of it. It's a quandary of how this ever happened. But the question is back to Scott. If there's a right-of-way there, I want to push it. If there's not a right-of-way there, we'll tell them the game's over and let the state turn the money loose.
Well, I would ask for permission in from the board to write, read out a letter based off of Mr. Farland's letter later this week that we'll either commit to one project, complete the other two, or complete all three of them, and release that funds back into the revenue sharing. I would ask that on the revenue sharing for next year, the application, if there is an application, we have a resolution on the 9th meeting, whether we apply for a ready-mix road, unapply, or if there are other roads out there that y'all consider worth.
So we have a recommendation from the county administrator to participate in the revenue sharing program to approve, for the approval. Do you have an amount that we're going to request?
We have to get a cost estimate VDOT to bring back on, that's part of the process.
So do we need to take action on this?
I would, instead of wasting their time trying to get a cost estimate, if there was some indication from the board that you would make application, allow us to move forward the application for ready mix road.
Yeah, I'd make that motion now that all we're doing is asking for an allocation right now.
Yes, sir.
And it's like last time, Troy and I agreed on this. Ask for as much as you can if we need to build that road into the industrial park. Is their limit still 10 million?
It is.
And all you're doing is setting aside that 10 million for future projects.
Okay, we have a motion to have a second.
Hey,
We have a motion to second, any discussion? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horny? Aye.
yeah,
I'm gonna surprise you. Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Okay. We have more, before we go into closed session, I know we talked about this coming from the budget committee, but we have a letter from the county attorney, and I'll let him, if he would like to explain his request.
Yes, I'd be happy to do that. I sent a request asking for a contract modification for an increase in my hourly pay. I've been serving as county attorney since the fall of 2001, and we changed the pay structure in 2010 to be just a straight hourly rate basis, and that was, might have been changed before that. In 2010, I think it went to $125 an hour. I'm requesting that be increased to $150 an hour. It's been 5 years since I've had any kind of raise. I also have recently hired an associate to work with me that would be available to also do different projects that I could assign to him from, that would be county work. And I'd like to bill him at a rate of $100 an hour to the county as an associate attorney. I believe that Mr. Dalton had asked how much would I shuffle off to the associate attorney. Looking at the last invoice, maybe the last 2 invoices, he could probably do maybe about half of those hours. Again, that depends on what is the issue and whether he can do it or can't do it. So I think you still would have times where you may see more hours billed by me than him. Sometimes you'll see more hours billed by him than me. And I think that fluctuates. But I think it would, in the end, round out to maybe about half. Again, that's an estimate, but that's what I think can happen. Review this contract every year at budget time, I think. And I always propose modifications from your side to me as well, as I propose to you. So the proposal is essentially to have a raise to $150 an hour and allow me to bill my associate at $100 an hour for the legal work we do for the county.
Okay, you've heard the request from the county attorney. I'll entertain any motions.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
We've been providing more and more with all these water and sewer projects, the county attorney, more complex issues in the last few months. We're in sort of dire need that we'll get things pushed through the county attorney. If he's got additional staff, that helps us get it in a timely fashion without delaying these projects. It's not an endorsement, but we need our work back on a quicker time.
Well, I understand, and we have put a lot on Scott in the past year, and this will probably help clear up a lot of these things where you can put a lot of this work on the associate. Both of them are working at the same time, and it might even save us a little money in the long run. Who knows?
Yeah,
With the work that's coming, there's more hours to be given to you, so, I think it'll save money in the end.
And the counties, we're growing to more things happening, and we have a lot of work to do, legal work.
So, I guess, Mr. Farthing, is it your intention to, I understand it's according to your schedule at your firm, but anything that this associate attorney can do will probably be given to him if he has the I don't want to say the ability, but the experience and the time to do it.
That's correct.
Okay.
An example would be, county attorney, can you confirm we can do X, right? It's a matter of looking at the code section, making sure that it's in the code. He goes and finds it, reads it, gives me a memo on it, and I say, yeah, that's right, I read the code, and it's there. And it saves me time because he's doing the work to find whatever I need, and then he says, here it is, and I look at it for 10 minutes and say, yeah, that's right.
And his time, we're paying him cheaper than we're paying you.
We're getting him cheaper and you more expensive.
That's right.
This is germane to the question, I think. Scott, I noticed on county invoices from time to time, paying for access to election sections. Do you have privy to that?
I assume that is through the law library at the clerk's office. I'm not sure that I have access to that.
The law library requires that we provide either legal books and documents. What we've done is a contract and subscribe to LexisNexis. We have 2 computer outlets down there. And anybody, any citizen in the county, any attorney can go use them.
Well, as you know, and I hope others know, that's the finest reference tool that's been available for 50 years now. And it amazes me you haven't had access to it or realized you had access to it.
I thought I had access to it, but I also have that contracted just for my firm.
Oh, you pay the fee?
I'm paying the fee. If you want to contribute to that, I'll allow you to do that too. Right now, my firm is paying it.
probably all law firms, has that contract.
Most of them have access to some kind of database.
Yeah. Okay, now I'll entertain a motion to accept.
Mr. Chairman, seeing how I think that there will be a balance, I'll make the motion that we approve.
I have a second.
I'll second that.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Horning?
Aye.
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 The chair votes aye. Okay, Mr. Dalton, is there anything else we need to talk about before we go into closed session?
No, sir, and I would request that the closed session for today be removed from the agenda.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, well, do we have anything under other? We'll do away with the closed session.
Since we're not having a closed session, if we don't want to answer this, tell me in out of order. What happened in our court case on the tax issue last week?
I can provide a report to that. So Raleigh Construction tax assessment case was continued. We had recommendation for settlement. So I guess I would say we need to go to closed session to provide that update. There is a recommendation for me on the settlement. Case was continued based on the recommendation of me making a recommendation to the appointed board and the board approving it. So it's not settled at this point. The case was just continued, and then I was supposed to seek your approval. Thank you for bringing that up.
Okay.
So we could go into
Just
closed
closed
session,
session.
consultation with legal counsel.
Well, it's
Discuss.
real money, let's move with it.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, change of plan, we will.
Does it hurt the case if we talk about it in open session?
It does not. Yeah, that's up to the board.
Let's just talk about it.
I don't mind to
Okay.
do that one way or the other. The assessment challenge was the property, the Emerson Building on Edwardsburg Road, was assessed at $1.4 million. Raleigh Construction purchased that property in 2012 for $400,000. They purchased that warehouse property and the adjoining lots. So the building sits on 13-acre tract. There's an 8-acre tract that sits beside of it. So he bought both those tracts of land for $400,000. Turned around within 2 weeks and sold the 8-acre tract to the Wythe Housing Authority for $500,000. So he got his money back right away. He has done some improvements on the warehouse. He's constructed some storage buildings there between the warehouse building and the hotel there on Parish Square Road. He was challenging the assessment that 1.4 was too high. He had an appraisal, not technically an appraisal, but some kind of valuation completed at $580,000. I spoke with Mr. Hickey, who had done an air assessment, and his opinion was, you have the comparable sale of the land next door, the 8 acres that he sold immediately after he bought it. The challenge with the 13 acres in the warehouse building was there was some environmental issues that happened, were discovered some years ago, and the Emerson Company had to clean that up. DEQ is still monitoring that, although they've given them a clean bill of health. It does provide some stigma to that property. Their expert on the valuation was hanging a lot on that environmental problem. There was potential evidence from a member of the community college board that the property was offered to them. They rejected it for the environmental reason. It was going to be donated to them. I don't know. He talked as if the same was done for the town and they rejected it for the same reason. But I didn't know who that person was that was going to testify to that. In the end, the recommendation is that we settle the case for assessing the property at $1 million, $900,000 for 2012, 2013. Let's see if I get it right. That's correct. 2012, they paid 2012 because that's when they bought it.
13 and 14.
13 and 14, we settled with an assessment of $900,000. And then for 15 and 16, the assessment's at $1 million. And the difference in that $100,000 is that storage building that got put up last year, the storage units that are on the assessment for this year. They assessed those at $177,000. So when we were talking in the $1 million range, the new assessment for that structure came up. It was proposed by Riley Construction, really to knock off 177 from the million. And I said, no, you've got to split that a little bit, you know. So we agreed to the 900 for the 2 years without the storage buildings, and $1 million after that for 2 years. And you're going to have your reassessment done in 2017. I spoke to Mr. Hickey about that. Mr. Hickey had indicated that he felt he's had 4 cases in Smith County and Washington County. In, I don't know what time frame we're talking about, maybe the past 2 years or 3 years. His opinion was the end result was the courts have been finding about down the middle from what the assessment was and what the person was claiming the value. The courts were falling somewhere roughly in the middle of that. So 1.4, their claim was 580, 583 to 600. So the $1 million puts you almost right in the middle. And his opinion was he thought that was a good settlement. It cuts the risk down of it being less than that. He felt he could testify in support his 1.4, or at least most of it. He wasn't sure about the environmental and how that would play out. And judges are unpredictable as to what they're going to do sometimes. I should say most of the time, it's their decision to make. So he was on board with that recommendation offer from Riley Construction. He thought it was a good settlement, and it was a good result from the action. I agreed with him. It cuts down the risk of getting us something less than $1 million. And then we're going to have a reassessment again in 2 years. So, you know, the reassessment can address the environmental issues now that that's made known and adjust that assessment accordingly. And any new improvements that they're making to the building now as they're using it to rent out warehouse space currently. So the recommendation is the $900,000 for 13 and 14, and $1 million for 15 and 16. And then the assessment would be done in 2017 again.
And then they'll pay taxes on whatever.
They haven't paid
assessed
taxes since they filed suit, which they haven't paid for 13 and 14. So that adjustment can be made, and then we're going to have them pay those taxes current through 2014. Hopefully give them to pay 2015 as well at the same time we're doing this, because they're almost due. Whether they will or not, I don't know, but we can definitely give them to pay 13 and 14 very soon. And then as part of that settlement agreement that they paid when they signed the settlement agreement and catch the taxes up, and then they just pay the assessment of $1 million when it comes next 2 years.
I'd like to add 2 comments there. Everybody needs to understand we're talking about assessed value and not real tax dollars.
That's correct.
The other thing is when they took away that first piece down there for $500,000, that virtually took that out of the tax base for the county and the town. Housing development authority will never pay taxes on that again. So that's just a continued depletion of revenue. One of the positive things, I think, for your side is when they had that evaluation instead of calling it appraisal, they had re-roofed that whole Emerson building, and the value of that should have figured into it.
Well, the date of the assessment is the day of the assessment, which was in 2012. January 1st, 2012 is when David Dickey did the assessment. So he's valuing that building as of that date. So we don't go back and change his view or his valuation. Same thing on their side. They've got to value that building as it was on January 1st, 2012 for the assessment challenge. And at that time, the building had not been redone.
But the new appraisal, with everybody believing that assessments are going to go down, it behooves the county to emphasize how much better that building is than it was in the last time. Because it has had significant improvements to the property, and we should oppose these general rescissions or backward thinking on properties that have been improved and developed during that time. They are new assets.
That's right. And when they do the assessment, they can do it based on the cost to build it as well as what income it produces. So, you know, that's going to be an income-producing property with the warehouse space rented and the available space available to rent. you know, so they can potentially, they do the work on the valuation. I don't understand it all, but there is a way to do that as far as the income producing, and they value the property based on the income it can produce. So that's another way to value that property in 2017 when they do the assessment.
Mr. Dalton, roughly how many dollars are we talking about in tax increase?
I think it's like $2,500 or $2,000 a year.
I guess the only difference, Scott, Wythe County has an ordinance that if we do proration, so any improvement you do, if Gary adds to his house, changes the assessment. So it's not exactly 2012. Any improvements they did with proration,
Right.
they get to add to that.
Yeah, like the storage buildings, Faye was adding the extra money for the storage buildings to the assessment. And that's being part of this settlement to cover those at this time. So if they built another set of storage units out there next year, then Faye would increase the assessment based on what that value is. But my recommendation to the board is to accept that settlement.
Okay, we have a recommendation from council to accept the settlement. Do I have a motion?
For explanation, are they agreeable to that? Will they accept that proposal?
Yeah, the offer's been made for the $900,000 for, I think my years are 13, 14, $1 million for 15, 16, which includes the storage building. And then the reassessment's the reassessment. 2017, they start all over. But they've made the proposal, and I agreed on those terms, said I would make that recommendation to the board, but it's contingent on the board accepting that recommendation. You know. So they're good as far as those numbers go.
I'd like to make that motion. I think any continuation of this, the expense is going to eat up the opportunity for gain, especially with your new raise.
That's right.
I have a second.
I'll second.
I have a motion, second, county attorney's recommendation for the settlement. Any more discussion? Hearing none, I'll do a roll call vote. Dr. Houseman?
Aye.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Mr. Dalton, any other business need to come before the board at this time? Does any board member have anything to bring before the board? Hearing none, I'll recess us until Wednesday, which is tomorrow, August the 26th at 5 p.m. at First Bay.
That, we meet over there, not here.
Yeah.
Okay.